Hey, everybody! Look here, we've got a ton of people already in. Welcome to the channel. My name is Elizabeth. If you've not been here before, I am your friendly hillbilly host, and this is Hillbilly Crime. And let's see, we've got all kinds of people here. I guess this this story is what everybody wants to hear about, isn't it? Yes, Indie Girl, everybody come on in. Buddha Belly, we haven't seen you in our live in a while. Welcome. Waiting from Arkansas. Amazing. Welcome. R. Drake, going to be a good one. Shame I have to work at 4 a.m. I'm sorry. We had ball games this evening. We had 4 ball games back to back. Yes, please hit the like button. So today's video is about Mickey Stines. So we have found a source from the Leslie County Jail. And I wanted to pull this up and we're going to look at the jail website and check it out. So I don't know how many of you all have actually been in jail before. So this is the Leslie County, Kentucky Detention Center. Let me get down here. And the way that it usually goes, so there's Mickey right here, Sean Stines. Says he was booked in on the 19th, 2024. Active status, bond amount, no bond, and his charges for red rum. So the way that jail works, usually, when people go in, sometimes you can become a trustee. Now, I'm not really sure what the criteria is. I don't know if it's kind of common in all jails or if each jail kind of sets that up on their own. I'm not really sure. But from what we are hearing from the Leslie County Jail, they have Mickey working in laundry. So he's doing laundry while he's there. And let's see. Let's get everybody in here. Dawn Tackett, how's everybody doing tonight? So Mickey is apparently working in laundry. They said that he is in a single cell, so he doesn't have any cellmates. But we're hearing some whispers. When you're in jail, you really don't have any communication except for telephone calls, and you can write letters. But a lot of the jails now are moving to like a digital format. So now people can do video calls, and in some jails they have like tablets that they can use. And I'm assuming that the numbers, like if they are given a tablet, then I would say that the numbers that they're allowed to text back and forth with are only approved numbers, that are approved by the jail and so forth. But from what we're hearing from these whispers, and it's all unconfirmed, of course, people have to be really careful about what they say. Meaning like inmates have to be careful what they say, because they might get in trouble for telling anything that they know. But apparently, Mickey's made him some friends. It's kind of hard to be in there. And I'd say coming as being a police officer, man, I just don't know. It'd be really difficult to go from being on one side of the law to then being on the other side and being in lockup. You know what I'm saying? But these jails around here are pretty small. They're not big like what you would see in a big city, and they're very informal. So they can get by with a whole lot more than what they can in the big cities. Like what we have seen and heard about, like Ben Fields, when he spent his 6 months in the Letcher County jail. Well, he was their buddy. You know, he worked with them. So what do you think they did? Well, from what we were told by a former employee at Letcher County, the jailer himself told all the employees, if he don't want that door locked, don't lock it. If he wants this, give it to him. If he wants that, give it to him. And so they kind of gave him the run of the place. Let his wife go in there and spend time with him, as much time as she wanted. They bought him allegedly, they bought him a big mattress for his cell, for his single cell that he got by himself. And they got a big old TV for him. So Ben Fields had it made while he was in jail. And so I wonder how they're treating, which from what the whispers say, he's kind of being favored, you know, which of course I figured that would be the case. Let's see, Cindy Rice, hi from sunny South Florida. Sarah Smith, howdy from Kentucky. Ramona Ratliff, hi Mama Duck. Mama Duck's got our Discord going. We've sent out a few invites. If you are a member, make sure that you send me an email to the hillbillycrime@gmail.com. So that way we can send your Discord invite to your email. Okay. And anybody who's interested in being a mod, send us an email with your tag. So that way I can manually put you in. All right. Let's see. Georgia Culture, we haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. Glad you could be here. I know it's a little bit late. I'm sorry. All right. So let's see. What do you guys think? I bet he looks pretty doing laundry. Well, we've got some juicy tidbits as well. You know, you can't stay in a place 24/7 and never talk, right? You've got to talk to somebody. And how often do we see in trials on TV, which I know it's TV, but still they're criminal trials. But how often do we see people, other inmates who have been told things in the cell or in general population or wherever, they come in and they tell in court what they've heard. And so we kind of know people talk when they're locked up. They don't have anything else to do. So we've got some juice on that. Let's get some of these comments. He was in law enforcement. He's going to be well guarded until he's proven guilty and sentenced. I think that's a really good point. Yeah. And Leslie County Jail. See, some of these jails are just county jails. So they can only hold county inmates who are, and those are people who have been convicted or are waiting on their trial or whatever. Those jails only hold people that have been convicted of misdemeanors, or they hold them up until their trial. And so that only allows them to hold them up to 365 days. So they can only hold them for up to 1 year. But if it's a state facility, like I know Lexington, the Fayette County Jail is a state-run facility. And now used to, I don't know if it's still this way, but used to, many years ago, they could hold them for up to 5 years. So if they were sentenced to 5 years and under, then they could be held at that county jail that was also a state facility. And there's a lot of money that's involved in those things. Like the state will pay a county jail so much money to house their state inmates. So one of the things that I've continued to say, follow the money, right? Follow the money. Where are all the records of all of the money? Well, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's even looking into the money at the sheriff's department or in the court, how the ARC, the rehab, how our Letcher County Court was so involved with ARC. I mean, not many county courthouses has a standing rehab representative that's supposedly best friends with the sheriff and the judge. So I would really like to see that. There have been whispers and there have been a lot of accusations swirling around about money laundering. And that's what some of the whispers are that's coming out of the Leslie County Jail. That money was allegedly being held in storage units. And everybody's involved, allegedly. So, I would really like to see some public records requests for our Letcher County Sheriff's Department and all the rugs and the money that was going through there, that was being confiscated, that was being logged into evidence lockers. I'd really like to see that information. Really, really like to see that information. Leslie County was really good to some of my family. Well, that's wonderful, Miss Jody. I'm glad they were. He doesn't deserve preferential treatment. There have been many people say that the day that the incident happened in Letcher down at the courthouse, several people have said that Mickey first went to Daniel Dotson's office, who is one of the big lawyers here in Letcher County. And he wasn't there. So then he went over to the courthouse. And I've also heard a little variation of that when he came out the side door, that somebody said that they thought he was going over to Daniel's office after he left the courthouse. But I don't know, that's rumor. But several eyewitnesses that were there have told us what happened, that he came out the side door, he walked up the sidewalk, he paced back and forth. He was like one of the very last ones to go into the courthouse. Everybody else had ran in looking for a pew-pew person. And he was the only one that didn't have his pew-pew drawn looking for a person. And none of that was told. None of that was told in the court hearings. None of it has been told by law enforcement or anybody who has spoken on the matter, who was there. Hello from East Texas. Hello, I'm Chastity from Leslie County, that website you are using to look up the Leslie County mugshots. What website? That's the Leslie County portal, I guess. Let's see. Wonder if I can go back to the front of it. I don't know if it'll do it that way. Yep. See, it's Leslie County, Kentucky Jail. It's their website. Leslie County Jail, Kentucky. I wanted to look at this too. Here was an article I looked up. Several officials from Leslie County Sheriff's Office face indictments. Now, this was December 20th, 2018. 3 officials who worked at the Leslie County Sheriff's Office are under indictment. One of them worked as a special deputy and full-time paid deputy for several years. The charges stem from various thefts, including faking overtime hours and stealing equipment from the office. And I found recently there's a whole lot of times when deputies and other members of law enforcement seem to be messing up their overtime and their payment, the ways that they put in their timesheets. 2 former clerks, Dawn Fortney and Brianna Bowling, are both accused of falsely adding overtime hours. For Fortney, she is accused of deceiving taxpayers out of $7,062. Bowling's hours, she is accused of adding a total of $1,680. You know, that just doesn't seem like it'd be worth ruining your entire career and your life over. For $1,500, $1,700. The former deputy, Jeremy Lewis, is accused of stealing more than $11,000 worth of law enforcement equipment, including radios, repeaters, and other gear from the office. Wednesday night, Bowling was arrested and brought to the Leslie County Detention Center. Once at the jail, officials called the jailer with a problem they quickly realized. They told me that he was worried because there were several people in the building that he had arrested, said jailer Danny Clark. I told them not to put him anywhere, but to get him ready, and I would come up here myself to see where we could put him. Documents show Bowling has already paid restitution in the full amount. Fortney paid a cash bond at the circuit clerk's office and will appear in court February 6th. As for former Deputy Jeremy Lewis, he was transported late Wednesday from Leslie County to the jail in Laurel County. Well, nobody should know him. There's nobody over there. He's arrested, said Clark. Each jailer, if we do get a police official, we try to do our best to protect them. Clark said Lewis admitted to one of the thefts during the car ride. Clark says he was surprised to learn there was much more. I thought that was a misdemeanor charge. And then when I got to the jail, it was a Class C felony. And I'm like, I had no idea about the other stuff. And he started telling me about some blue lights and some other things, said Clark. We reached out to current Sheriff Delano Huff. He told us he is extremely shocked to learn of the indictments, especially his former deputy. Huff calls Lewis one of the best deputies he had during his time as sheriff. All three former officials from the sheriff's office had been laid off several months prior to the indictments. And if I'm not mistaken, let me stop. I'm thinking that's the same fella that we're going to look on this. Now, I pulled that up because that's Leslie County. That's where Mickey's being held, is in the same county jail. Let's see. Missing man's ex-wife and her boyfriend charged with red rum in case. A missing man's ex-wife and her boyfriend, a former sheriff's deputy, are charged with red rum in connection to a 2-year-old missing persons case. The radio station report says 27-year-old Lena Michelle North of Manchester and 35-year-old Jeremy Lewis of Manchester, who is a former Leslie County Sheriff's deputy, are charged in the disappearance of North's ex-husband, Tyler North. Investigators have not said what led to the arrests. Is that the same guy? 35-year-old Jeremy Lewis? Let me see. Is that his same name? Jeremy Lewis. It's the same guy. And what I want to point out is the sheriff is saying, oh, what a great guy he was. He was the best employee that I had. Just apply this stuff to Letcher County, y'all. It's the same kind of deal. Tyler North went missing June 24th, 2018, after leaving his sister's home. He was last seen in the heavily wooded Kaywood recreational area near the Leslie-Harlan County line, according to Kentucky State Police. A lot of people go missing from Harlan County, that's for sure. His burned out pickup truck was found in a field off a strip mine road near War Branch off Kentucky 1850 near the Clay-Leslie County line on July 1st, 2018, according to KSP. Tyler North has never been found. His ex-wife and Jeremy Lewis were both taken to the Leslie County Detention Center, according to the radio report. So there's the woman, there's the girl, and there's the deputy. Can y'all see him? He's the one in the middle there. And then the guy down at the bottom, I guess, is the husband that went missing. And I'm pretty sure they were convicted. Let's see. Let me go back over here and see. I'm pretty sure they were. Trial continues. Let's see. I had it up there a minute ago, and I've lost it again. Let's see. Red rum trial for former Leslie County Sheriff continues. Wednesday marked the end of the third day of trial proceedings. During the session on Wednesday morning, the focus was on the defendant, Jeremy Lewis, a former sheriff's officer. Lewis is being charged with red rum, tampering with physical evidence, and abuse of a corpse. Unbelievable. You know, we sure don't think that people are going, especially police, you know, law enforcement. We do not think that they're doing this stuff. Good evening from Estill County, Kentucky. Hello, Charlie. Cindy Joe. Hello from Oklahoma. Girl Ryan. Hey, y'all. There's 235 plus of us in chat. Oh, yep. Hit that like button if you don't care. Y'all think Mickey has a bunch of secrets on the elected officials, so they know they better be nice to him. Well, I think that there's a whole lot more people involved than what any of us know, you know. Um, so let me get this up here and we'll see. So apparently they have this call chirp device that they use to where Mickey can send text messages to, what I'm assuming is those approved numbers. I haven't actually seen the new the new age way that they do it myself, so I don't know. I've not been in jail, and I've not had anybody calling me from a jail in a very long time, so I'm not really sure how that works nowadays, but I know that that's how they're doing. So we know that he is in a cell by himself. He has a TV. He goes to laundry from 8 to 4, allegedly, from what we are being told. And he can have video visits, the video phone visits with his family. And let's see. And from what is being reported by some people, every once in a while he has a spell, and so they get one of the other inmates to go talk to him and kind of talk him down and watch him. And so he's apparently having a hard time, which I figured he would. He's still a county inmate because he hasn't been convicted yet. So he's still a county inmate. He can't go outside. But I think that is up to the jail, whether they let him go out or not. But it's being reported that he hasn't been out yet. Let's see. Said that the jailer there at Leslie County is a former KSP, is what we're hearing. So I'm sure. And you know, every jail has a bunch of jailhouse lawyers. So I'm sure he's getting a lot of great legal advice. Let's see. But I think it's all going to come down to the money. It's what I've said from the very beginning. It's all about money. Allegedly, there's money hid in storage units all over the place. And it's also being reported from our source that he's still talking about his daughter with the judge. So, you know, I even said right after this happened, because they all came out and said that his daughter has denied that anything was happening with the judge. And so I didn't believe it. I did not believe it. I've even said before to stick my big foot in my mouth, but I've said before that, oh, that's been debunked. That's just, that's just a rumor, and it's not true. Well, he's apparently, allegedly, still talking about it. in the jail. So I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. We'll see. Genevieve, hello, sweetheart. Hello from Columbus, Ohio. Hello, Miss Angela. Let's see. Is Leslie County under core civic contract now? I don't know. I do not know. But we've got some really, really great resources now. We've got lots of viewers, and we've got people who can help us get some information from time to time. Have access to like databases that I wouldn't have access to normally. So that's really, really great. We're just taking it a day at a time. Let's see. Mama Duck says we can get the CAFR report and know where every dime goes. Yes, ma'am, Mama Duck. I would love to pull it. And I would like to put in some public records requests as well for a lot of the financial records. And not just for the sheriff's department. You know, if there's a lot more people involved in all of this, well, they're all also state paid. So all of their financial incomes, from work would be fair game. So we can at least see those kinds of things too. Yes, Miss Kathy, absolutely. Hello, Diamond in the Sticks. Miss Jenny says he sounds like a personable, outgoing person. I would think that's a factor that would make the people in there with him. He's very, he's a likable guy. Like people are seeing how much support he's had since this happened. He's had 10 times, 100 times the support that the judge has had. Everybody kind of looks to him as, well, I don't know. Let me not say that because I don't know. Jody, Leslie County holds state inmates, so they must be a state-run facility or state, I don't even know what you'd call that, eligible or something. All of this is so relative to what is happening here in my area. Our General Sessions judge has a secretary who is a female rug taker force officer. I think I read that wrong. Who is a female task force officer? Is that what you mean? Let's see. They only have a CAFR until 2021. I emailed them to you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll have to check it out after. And we'll see. I'll look through all that stuff. That's why we're so grateful. Well, I don't know. See, all right. So something else that I was going to bring up while we were talking about this is the Good Old Boys Club. Okay, that Good Old Boys Circle, the Good Old Boys Club. So, it's not just the courthouse that is part of that Good Old Boys Club. That Good Old Boys Club also includes business owners, friends, of course, but there've been a whole lot of things that have happened down there at that bar/restaurant that Mickey and Judge had their last lunch at. We've also seen red rums happen right there. The Boggs case a few years ago. That was one of the biggest cases in Letcher County. There was a fight outside of the bar one night. It was on New Year's Eve night. Everybody went to the bar. Everybody was drinking. The next thing you know, there was a big fight, and one of the boys is left unalived. And that happened right there. Well, there was also something else, another situation that happened down there. A former kitchen employee who worked at that place. They were taking some garbage out one night. Apparently, somebody's wife went in there demanding that they fix her something to eat, and the kitchen had already closed. And so they kind of had to end up running this woman out of the kitchen because, of course, she was so entitled, that she demanded that they fix her some food. So they ran her out of the kitchen, and then to defend her honor, I guess, I'm assuming, allegedly, to defend her honor, while the guy was taking the garbage out, he ended up getting jumped and beat up. There was nothing done. They brought charges. They got charges on them, or tried to press charges on the people. But because they were all buddies and everything, and buddies with the county attorney, nothing ever happened. So it says that this guy was beaten severely by 2 or 3 guys when he took the garbage outside. They were allegedly intoxicated and apparently mistook him for someone else. Well, ain't that what they said? They've said that before. They pressed charges and nothing was ever done. Every time that the boy's dad went in to talk to the county attorney, Mr. Jamie Hatton, he always referred to them as the good old boys. They were good friends and in high school classmates with Jamie and the owners of the bar at the time. Said that he finally ended up dropping the charges because it was driving them all crazy because of the injustice of it all, and nothing was being done about it. And so that's just one more example of how Main Street works in Whitesburg. If you've got the connections, and you've got the friends, and you've got the family, you get a big TV and a brand new mattress to spend your 6 months in jail instead of going to prison for 5 years. Just saying. Beachy Bum. Hi, friends. Scarface, ladies and gentlemen. See, wasn't Knox County mentioned in having a few part-time officers from Letcher County? I don't know. Velvet Weeble? Is that what it is? New here. Do they know why the sheriff did this to the judge? Well, that's kind of what we're talking about. There has not been anything released officially. Nothing. The only thing that we have heard officially from Stines' lawyers is the extreme emotional disturbance, and that he's expecting a full acquittal. So that's very interesting, don't you think? I think that jury nullification is a very serious possibility in this case. I really do. Because right now, as of right now, it is still, the trial will still be held in Letcher County. I'm not convinced yet that there'll even be a trial. I still think, and that would depend on Mickey. If they offered him a plea, he would be able to accept it or reject it. He can take it to trial. He doesn't have to accept a plea. But that, like I said, that would be then up to him. If they offered him a 20-year prison sentence, would you all think he would take it? Do you think he would take it? Or do you think he would want to take it to trial and roll the dice on jury nullification? Even though we got that video, there's a time to unalive defense. Now, I don't know if that exact defense is available in Kentucky, because the lawyer hasn't said that. He's been saying extreme emotional disturbance. I wish we had a lawyer. I wish we had a lawyer that we could talk to on this show and answer some of these questions. Yeah, his trial is set for September 2025, so this September. And there's a whole bunch of court hearings that they will have up until that happens. They have a whole bunch of them. And Letcher County is notorious for delay. That's a tactic that they use for all different kinds of things, for their bad acts in our court, county court. Postpone it. And then we'll set the court date for September 10th, but we'll go ahead and have the court date on September 8th or 5th, whatever. So nobody's there. Or if they do like a bond reduction hearing, I've been to several of those where they'll go in, both sides will give their arguments, and then the judge says, okay, I'm going to take all of this into consideration. And then the hearing is over. I'll announce my decision. I'll have my decision within however long it takes them. And so then whenever they make their decision, if there's a whole lot of people there that are in opposition to this bond being reduced, well, as long as he's taking it under advisement and waiting to give his ruling, then whenever he does give his ruling, whoever the judge is, I'm just saying, then whenever he does give his ruling, there's nobody there in the courtroom in front of the judge or in front of anybody else for anybody to see their outrage. It takes away that opportunity for the victims, the family, the community. So I'm not too convinced yet. Wondering if there is any relation to the Chris Lewis, who now has a public record in misappropriation of funds in that area. Well, honey, there's all kinds of misappropriation of funds, especially in southeastern Kentucky. And all they have to do, if anybody, I mean, I know we're talking about Sheriff Stines, but like the nonprofit, in the last, I'd say 5 years, there's been this huge growth in nonprofit groups because they learned that they could get all of this grant money. So you've got nonprofit groups that have just popped up all over the place. And they've all gotten these great big grants. Lots of money has come into Letcher County over the last 5 years. And there's a ton of it, grant money. And you got a whole bunch of people who've never done that kind of work before running this stuff. And the only reason that I have any knowledge or experience in it is just from writing my own grant and I had grant counselors that helped me with the budgets and helped me learn how to put it all together, and it all had to go through and meet certain criteria. And while I was learning to write this second grant, I learned how easy it is to misappropriate funds. And there's a whole lot of white collar crime that happens in this area that nobody knows anything about because they can get over. People aren't looking for it. They're not educated in it. They don't know how to recognize it. They don't even know that they're doing stuff that's illegal. Most of them don't. But then when you try to tell them, hey, you're not supposed to be doing that, that's when they get mad, and because they're not going to listen to you. Their egos are just too big. Their heads are too big. They know everything. And how dare you or anybody try and tell them that they're doing something wrong? How dare you? Y'all please show Hillbilly Crime some love for liking, hitting that thumbs up button. Yes, thank you. A lot of backstabbing going on now. Too many hands in the cookie jar. That's right. And, just think about it. If you got a whole bunch of people who are involved in some aspect of doing wrong, well, that's a whole lot of mouths that could tell somebody. And it's a whole lot of hands in the cookie jar. That's right. Too many hands. There's going to be some fighting going on. There's going to be some disagreements going on. And when you got one going down and everybody else is going to get away with it, that might cause some really hard feelings. Just saying. Leslie County is in trouble with the feds over their fiscal court. The feds even got money back. Well, and I'll just be honest with you. I'm not too impressed with our federal, I don't even know what it is. Is it like the state police have posts? They have post 13 in Hazard, post 10 in Harlan. So what's the FBI? Do they have one office in each state, or do they have them kind of? I wonder how many they got in Kentucky. How many FBI offices are in Kentucky? I have no idea. But I am not excited about the FBI. And let me show you why. I've done showed this. We've done read it in a couple or in a previous video, but I'm gonna show it to you guys because I bet you ain't watched it or seen it. Okay. This is the Commonwealth Attorney in Hazard, which is 30 miles away. This is the same town and county that the state police are from, who are investigating Mickey and Kevin's case. Okay. So They're all related. They all know each other. They're all connected. Perry, prosecutor, accused of providing favorable treatment in exchange for rugs and snacks. Now, this was June 18th, 2024. So this was just, 6 months ago, y'all? You think Mickey Stines didn't know this man? You think Judge Kevin Mullins didn't know this man? Oh, yeah, they did. There's no way that they didn't. No way. You think that law enforcement in these two counties, Letcher County and Perry County, as close as what they are, you think members of law enforcement never heard the whispers and the rumors about this guy? You think they had never been told about this? And no, not one person spoke up about this? This is outrageous. The Perry County Commonwealth's attorney has been arrested after being accused of using his position to obtain schmecks and rugs from defendants his office was prosecuting. Scott Blair, 51, is charged in federal court with one count of honest services wire fraud. He wasn't charged with anything else. This was it. An affidavit filed by the investigating officer, and this is our FBI. Our FBI is who did this. Filed by the investigating officer alleges Blair would communicate with defendants over Facebook Messenger and would offer to help them in exchange for math and sexual favors. You all were all outraged about Ben Fields? Look at this. Same thing, only worse. Investigators obtained a search warrant for Facebook to provide Blair's message history. These guys knew, that's how arrogant and egotistical the Good Old Boys Club is, that they are so freely communicating these horrible acts on Facebook Messenger, where any search warrant is going to find them. Blows me away. During a review of the messages, they identified 5 victims who Blair allegedly pressured to provide him with math or sexual favors. One of the victims, later interviewed by investigators, said that he was initially given probation and rug court in exchange for providing Blair with sexual favors. However, he said he became uncomfortable with the arrangement and began to refuse Blair's demands, at which time he was terminated from rug court and sent back to jail. Blair was arrested Friday and lodged in the Laurel County Correctional Center. He is scheduled to answer the charges in U.S. District Court in London on Monday. Unbelievable. Let's see. Let's go back. See what WYMT says about it. Former Perry County Commonwealth's attorney sentenced. On Thursday, former Perry County Commonwealth's attorney Scott Blair, 52, of Hazard, was sentenced to 54 months in prison for committing honest services wire fraud. That's 5 years, 54 months. Let me do the math on that real quick. Okay. 54 divided by 12 is 4.5 years. So he didn't even get 5 years. He got 4.5 years. Blair pleaded guilty in May. According to his plea agreement, between April 2020 and March 2024, he intentionally devised a scheme to deprive Perry Countyans of his honest service through bribery. Blair also agreed to make recommendations on probation, drug court, and probation violations or sanctions for defendants he was prosecuting in exchange for methamphetamine and sexual favors. Blair has to serve 85% of his sentence before being eligible for probation. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Just blows me away. Hello from Jackson County. They used to send a lot of females to Leslie County. Then they moved them over to Harlan most of the time. And I don't know what condition the Leslie County jail is in. Do any of y'all know if it's an old jail or if it's a new jail? Hello from Jackson County. Hello, sweetheart. I know, alternative homesteading. I know she's been going through a whole lot. She's given us a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to do a video on. She's going through a really, really, really hard time in Jackson County where she's at. Let's see. Mickey definitely has a lot of secrets, in my opinion. I think they all have a lot of secrets. And a whole lot of them ain't secrets. There's a whole lot that's already known, that's very widely and commonly known. So I know some people get upset for us talking about this stuff, but I mean, it's not like people ain't talking about it. People are talking about it. They just don't have a YouTube channel, I guess. They have to pay to use the kiosk to send messages. There you go. So it's a pay. They have to pay for it. I thought that's what it said in my thing, but I couldn't really understand the wording, so I didn't know if that's what it meant or not. So thank you, allegedly Lisa. You confirmed it for me. This is just my opinion, but the more I think about Mickey's case and just all cases in general, I know it puts us out of the way, but we are already like that pretty much anyways. I think they should, and I think I lost the end of your comment there. Sorry. Wonder what he's thinking now about his choice that day. I think about him all the time, y'all. Like when I'm waking up in the morning sometimes, I try to imagine what it's like in his cell, or when I'm laying down at night. Like we were talking last night, my kids have the only bedrooms that we have. So I sleep on the couch. And I think about how, just you think about things that you don't have sometimes. I think, oh, this sucks sleeping on the couch. But it's a lot better than sleeping on a mat that thick on a concrete floor in a jail cell. I think about stuff like that, and I count my blessings, and I'm just so very thankful for what little bit that I do have. My freedom, decisions. I'm thankful for good decisions that I've made in my life. But I wanted to say something real quick. Like we've had two different options here that we can look at with Mickey. So either he did this and we're just saying what if, or, So if he did this out of some vigilante justice thing, a father, an overprotective father who lost his senses and flipped out, for lack of a better phrase, that would be very understandable to a lot of people. It's kind of like that's the very first reaction that we saw after it happened. Nobody could even imagine Mickey doing something like this. So it had to have been in reaction to something awful that the judge has done. Well, so we've got that scenario. The other is there was a whole lot of dirty financial stuff going on. There was a whole lot of money being moved around, like finances, money laundering. Let's just call it that. We've got that scenario. What if that was going on? What if there was misappropriation of money in some way, shape, or form having to do with the rehab and the court? And the sheriff's department did all the transport. So they were all involved in whatever they were doing. They were all involved. So you've got a judge, you've got a prosecutor, you've got defense attorneys, and you've got them all in that good old boys club together. So if you got a whole bunch of immoral and unethical people that's got a whole lot of power, a whole lot of position, and can hide a whole lot, well, who's going in looking? It's investigation 101. If you find one, you follow the evidence, but you have to follow it. You can't just put your blinders on and close your eyes and say, oh, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. If I don't see it, then it's not happening. If I don't see it, then I'm not duty bound to do something about it. And most of the time, just human nature, if you've got a friend or somebody who's doing something wrong, a lot of times the way that we see it all the time, they're not going to tell on them. They're going to join them. That's how it ends up happening most of the time. How many good cops have you seen call out bad cops? Not very often. A spell? Like a diddy fit? Yeah. Yep. Well, they sure ain't putting him in the alligator suit, y'all. Anybody know what the alligator suit is? Yep. Oh, yeah, they're taking good care of him. Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. Just get rid of Letcher County Courthouse and Sheriff's Department in general. Send everything to Pike County and Prestonsburg like they do for the Driver's Department right now anyway. So that's good. But it ain't going to happen. Did he just lose his ish momentarily and now has to live with the fact he did this? Well, Miss Kate, that's a really, really, really good comment because I often wonder the same thing. I don't know. I wish we did know. It's just never worth it. What a horrible life now. I know. And if the judge had done something, if the judge did do something horrible, that was worthy of this kind of payback, then he should have been made to face that, you know. He should have been made to face the losing everything, the shame, you know, losing his job, losing his position, being charged in a criminal court, you know, having to given the victim the opportunity to face the person who did, you know, to face him. We're talking about the judge. If the judge did something that was so bad, then he should have been given the opportunity to defend himself in a court of law. You know, we've got what's called due process. What makes Mickey special to where he thought he could go do what he did, you know? I don't think that. I don't think that's what it was. I think he made a decision. Now, whether he regrets it or not now, I don't, you know, we don't know. But I think he made a decision, and this is just my opinion, that he was not going to let the judge speak. You know, there was something and it's just my opinion. I think there was something he did not want the judge to be able to tell. I could be completely wrong. I could be totally wrong. But I just think that there's so much more to this story that we just don't know. And if there is a whole lot of money hid away in storage units all over the place, somebody knows it. He ain't the only one that knows it. Follow the evidence. You know, usually when you start pulling on one thread, it all comes undone. Well, the first thread that should have been pulled on was Ben Fields. That was the thread that should have brought everything else down. But no, he was given 6 months. Let him do his time in Letcher County Jail, and we're not going to look no further. What about the pictures they found on his phone? I don't know anything about pictures that they found on his phone. I've not heard anything about that, Mr. Harold. We just lost a judge due to money. He was helping himself and office from taxpayers' money. Absolutely. You think this doesn't happen all over the place, especially in places where they know they're not going to get caught? I think it happens a whole lot more than what people realize or even want to admit. He's probably being held still long enough to actually listen instead of walking around like he has a broom stuck up his butt. I reckon it's a natural born complex with authority figures. Well, and that's got to be, you know, he's not going to be as well taken care of if he's convicted and sent to prison. And these state-run facilities can only hold him up to 5 years. So I think the way that they do that is if you have a sentence that's 5 years and under, then they can hold you there. But if you get like a life sentence or 25 to life sentence, they can't keep you in one of those facilities, I don't think. But where else would they keep you? Oh, I guess that would be the county jails that hold them for 5 years. Okay. So they would then have a state prison that is just a state prison. And they don't keep the shorter sentences at those prisons. Had to think about that for a second. Allegedly, Lisa, of course his daughter's going to deny it. Well, from what I know, from what I've heard, she has. Everybody that's associated has denied that. But there have been neighbors of Mickey, people who live very, very close to him, and extended family members that have reached out to me and have said the mental illness aspect, that they all had been seeing something wrong with him for the last few months that led up to the courthouse chaos. But my question is, if everybody saw this downgraded mental health, this failing mental health, and nobody said anything, who would you tell? He's an elected sheriff. I don't know if there's anything that anybody could have done because he was an elected sheriff. If you're elected, I think that matters. But still, you'd think that somebody would have sounded the alarm somewhere. But no, of course not. They ain't none of them sounding the alarm for nothing. Isn't that part of his defense, like easier sentence for mental health due to anguish or something? Well, they're saying extreme emotional disturbance. That's what his lawyers are saying. That there was some happening. Something happened. And the lawyer's not saying what, but they're saying something happened in that meeting that sent him off. And the example that is often accompanied with extreme emotional disturbance is like catching your spouse in bed with somebody else. That's the favorite example for that. And so whatever happened there is being compared to that kind of a freak out. I just don't know, y'all. Grinch Lee, appreciate you covering this. It's a very interesting case. It sure is. Delvin Lucas, hello from Jenkins, Kentucky. Hello, my neighbor. Let's see. Allegedly, Lisa, agree with you. I don't know, of course. None of us do for sure. But I could see his daughter and wife not telling the whole truth if they did do things with the judge. And remember, they're showing up and sitting behind him in every court hearing that he's had so far. And one of the big national reporters got on the news and said that she had found out that his wife had kicked him out the night before he went up to the courthouse and did all that. So that's what we kind of know, right, from these sources, is that his wife kicked him out. Whatever was going on at home, he was allegedly kicked out of his house that night. And they said that that's why he didn't have his uniform on. Because usually when you saw Mickey, you saw him in uniform. I don't think I've ever seen him out of uniform, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever seen him out in something else. The only other thing I think I've ever seen him in, other than his uniform, was his Stines for Sheriff campaign t-shirts. So the fact that he was not in his uniform that day was really, really rare. And that kind of explains why, but we don't know any details about that. So but the wife and daughter are showing up to every court hearing, and there's publicly they're supporting him. So I don't know. And remember what he said, or what the cops have reported him saying. They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid. I never heard of him saying anything other than them trying to kidnap her wife and kid. I don't know. And I've heard somebody else told me too that they thought he had said something different about they're trying to kidnap my wife and kid. So, and we've heard the report that he apparently was going looking for Daniel Dotson, allegedly, before or after, but I guess it would have been before he went to see the judge. Was he looking for that lawyer to do the same thing to him? Makes you wonder, doesn't it? And once I get all of my little tidbits together about him, we're going to have a real good video on that one too. But got to wait for a little bit more. Mickey is a very likable person. Oh, almost everybody. The only person, I only know of a couple people who don't like Mickey. Only a couple. 99.99% of people love him. Just love him. But there was a whole lot of people loved this Scott Blair too. I was coming through Hazard last week when we come back from Lexington from the hospital, and I noticed on one of the telephone poles or one of the trees. Sorry. Come here. Let me put her up. Hang on a second. Sorry. Get out. Go on. Stop. Sorry, y'all. What I was going to say, this guy, Scott Blair. So, it was on a telephone pole or on a tree. I saw a big paper that they had. Sheesh. Saw a big, I think it was a campaign. It was Vote for Scott Blair on the tree. And it was really, really old. It was weathered. And nobody had had taken it down. And it had been up there for a long time. But they also said in several of the newspaper articles that I had read on this case with Scott Blair, he was very beloved in Hazard. Everybody liked him. He went to church. I reckon his church wrote all kinds of letters on his behalf, even after he was accused of all of this stuff. People loved him. And mind you, his victims weren't just one of the opposite smecks. His victims were of the same smecks as him. So he wasn't just doing it to women. He was victimizing men. So if you've got this guy threatening, coercing, R-ing, pretty much, you might as well put that great big R word in there, because that's what he was doing. And he wasn't doing it with like-minded men. Like, I don't think that these were men who like men. I think he was victimizing straight men. That puts a whole new layer on it, don't it? I mean, it'd be one thing if you've got two people who are like-minded, who are consenting adults and want to go do whatever they want to do. That's their business. Okay, more power to you. But when you're victimizing a person who is not that, who doesn't feel that way, do you know, I'm trying to be very careful how I say this, but I think you guys get what I'm saying, right? That puts a whole new spin on it. And all he was charged with was honest services fraud. That's our FBI. Where was the state police? Post 13 in Hazard. Where were they when their Commonwealth attorney was committing this? For 4 years is what he was charged with, from 2020 to 2024. Like, that just outrages me. And I always say, I always think everybody should be just as outraged as I am about stuff like this. And then I find out that most of them ain't. Or most of them are. They just don't tell it. But that's one thing I like about our channel, is that we can all talk about this together, and you don't have to feel like such a outcast. Because that's what they'll make you. If they can, that's how they punish you. They punish you by isolating you, maybe through employment or where you live, through your family. If you've got family members who work or who are employed by one of their buddies, or if one of your family members live in a home and pays rent, if they're a landlord, that's how they get you. That's how they punish you for speaking out. They don't have to just retaliate against you by drumming up some charges against you, some criminal charges, which they do that too now. Like I said from the start, no matter what, if I get pulled, I'm still gonna say, set him free. I don't believe in DP at all. I don't either. I'm not real big. I'm not a big proponent of the DP. No, too many people have been found, like through the Innocence Project and stuff like that. They've just convicted way too many innocent people for my liking. This case is about the good old boy system. I protect you, you protect me. Secrets have come out. It could destroy people's options. Secrets have come out. It could destroy people. Options is to resort to red rum. Northeast Ohio here. Hi, Mark Vinson. I agree that Mickey is a likable person, but it's a lot different in prison. It sure is. It sure is. This case is so unusual that near every main YouTube channel will be covering it. Yeah, they are. They all are. Someone messing with his daughter must be good enough for Mickey. Must have been good enough for Mickey. I know a lot of people say that, you got a whole lot of blowhards out here who say they'll do this and they'll say they'll do that, and they're big tough man till they get in jail. Until the rubber meets the road, and then sometimes people ain't doing what they said they was going to do. A lot of people are all talk, but we saw with Mickey, he wasn't all talk. And I think about that. Sometimes I play that video in my head, and I keep thinking, like, why didn't the judge get up when he saw Mickey pull his pew-pew out of his holster? He stood there with it down by his side for a minute before he ever took aim. Why didn't the judge get up and try and fight him, or because he didn't think that Mickey was going to do that. Who would have ever dreamed it? Nobody would have ever dreamed he would have done that. But I just keep thinking in my head, if the judge would have got up and at least tried, he could have wrestled the gun away from him. But he just kept looking so surprised and shocked. And, he was hit 8 times. So we can't hear when each one of them goes off. You can pretty much see the judge's reaction. But you don't really know exactly where each one of, or when each one of them were done. You can't hear it. I have the audio, but I didn't know if it would demonetize me if I put it up here. But I've got the audio from that day. And what it sounds like to me is it sounds like 7. You clearly hear 7, and they're real fast. And then the last one, that 8th one, kind of like, it sounded to me like an echo. I wasn't too sure that was another one. But then when they came out and said he was hit 8 times, then of course it would put 2 and 2 together. But I don't know, y'all. Hello from Russell County, Kentucky. You couldn't take all the rural-based county sheriff's office and get one decent law enforcement officer with integrity. That's the right word, integrity. That's what we've been missing for a long time. Integrity. Where is it? Like, do you all see integrity? All right, so let's see. I want to Google it. I just want to see what the actual definition of integrity is. Sometimes we think we know what words mean. All right. Integrity is defined as the quality of being honest, ethical, and consistent in one's actions and words. It also means having strong moral principles that one refuses to change. Synonyms of integrity include honesty, honor, morality, virtue, probity. Not sure I've ever heard that before. Probity, uprightness, and justice. So integrity means justice. In academic settings, integrity is defined as commitment to values such as honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility. In a professional setting, integrity means consistently acting in an honest and ethical manner, even in challenging circumstances. So that's what integrity means. And um, all industries, any job that you have, you're going to be expected not to steal. You're going to be expected, to tell the truth. And as a law enforcement officer, it's like your duty. Well, I don't think that what we generally think, I don't think that's how most people are. I just don't think that they are. I see too much. I see too many times that a group of police officers will watch another officer abuse somebody and really act bad. And instead of one of the other officers maybe coming over and giving them a pep talk and be like, hey, man, let's do that a little bit better or something. I mean, how many bosses or team leaders have I had? Think about your own jobs. Have any of you all had a job that way to where you could make any mistake and they just pat you on the back and talk about your training, how much training you've had, and put you up on this big pedestal and let's give you a raise and let's give you this and let's give you that, and we're going to cover up, don't worry about that. We'll cover it up. I mean, law enforcement's the only one that I know of, the only career or job that you can have. Look at Ben Field's wife. Looks like she got a promotion after he got caught with what he did. I mean, what else do you call that? Getting a better job in the courthouse than what you had. Possibly the Judge Mullins was trying to turn Mickey's wife and daughter against him, set him up. Well, and who was trying to kidnap his wife and kid? I think there was a whole lot more involved in this, and I think it all, and this is just my opinion, of course, but I think it all revolves around money. I don't think that and let's just say if the judge had behaved in this manner before with anybody else's daughter, right? If the judge was doing these kinds of things, what we're hearing with any female, period, that's somebody else's daughter. And if it had been going on as long as what it could have been going on, then there's no way Mickey didn't know about it. There's just no way. Nobody can convince me otherwise. He was his bailiff for 10 years before he became sheriff. They were very good friends. They saw each other every single day. Nobody can convince me he didn't know about it. And so if you knew all these years that a judge, I'm just saying a judge, if a bailiff knew and a sheriff knew for all these years that this kind of behavior was happening, and you never did anything to stop it for anybody else's daughter, but then as soon as you think something's happening to your daughter, you go do this. Does that make any sense? And does that make it any better? Your daughter was so important, but all these other people's daughters weren't. I have a hard time with that, y'all. I have a hard time with that. With the thought of that. Good old jury nullification. What is that? Okay, so what that is say he goes to trial and they get up there with this video tape, this security footage showing Mickey unalive Judge Kevin Mullins. So we see it with our own eyes, right? We've got it on video. But if you've got a jury on his trial, sees the video, sees all the evidence, goes through the whole trial, and then comes back and finds him not guilty because of some extreme emotional disturbance. So say we get in this trial and they show that the judge was doing something awful, right? And even though we see Mickey's guilty of it because we see it on video, they could come back and find him not guilty and kind of say, damn the evidence. Not guilty. That's jury nullification. Hi, Trudy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think he would roll the dice. There we go. I don't know. If they offered him 20 years, you got to remember he's 40-something. So he's in his early 40s. So if he's in his early 40s and they give him 20 years, he has to serve 85% of that. Or, I don't know. I don't know if he has to serve 85% of that or if he has to serve. I don't know. I wish we had a lawyer that we could talk to. Grinchly says it depends on what the story is. That's exactly right. It does. It really does. Wonder who rented the storage units. Individuals, sheriff's office, county. It's very, very interesting. I believe the wife and judge were playing cops and robbers after hours. Trial. If he thinks he is not wrong, it will go to trial. But the video is the deal breaker. Yep. He doesn't want it to go to federal, 85%. Yeah, and the way that the state and federal work, he could be charged both. That's not double jeopardy. Like they can charge you through the state, and then the feds can come in and charge you. That's one reason why I thought it was very interesting. I was learning about the pardons, like the presidential pardons and how all that works. And yeah, the president can pardon somebody, but the pardon only works on like one of them. I don't remember if it was the state or the federal, but like if a presidential pardon, if you say Trump or Biden was to pardon Mickey, say, it only works on one of them. Like if he was charged federally and the pardon was a federal, well then the state can come in and charge him and the pardon doesn't do it, or vice versa, or the state charges him and the presidential pardon could only charge him one way. Man, I wish I had a lawyer to talk to about that. Let me see. Let me see if Google will give me a better explanation, because that explanation I just gave y'all sucked. Sorry. Presidential pardon, state or federal. All right. Presidential pardon can only be granted for federal crimes. Okay, not state crimes. The president can pardon someone convicted of a federal crime, which includes crimes tried in the United States District Court, Superior Court, District of Columbia, or a military court martial. State crimes. The president cannot pardon someone convicted of a state crime. There it is. If you are seeking clemency for a state criminal conviction, you should contact the state's governor or other appropriate authorities. The president's pardon power is limited by the Constitution in a few ways. The president cannot pardon someone in cases of impeachment. The president cannot pardon someone for federal or state civil claims. The president can only pardon someone for offenses against the United States. Okay. So there you go. Presidential pardon like that is only for federal. But that's how they kind of get away with that. Like, say they pardoned a federal charge. Well, then the state could come in and say, oh, ho, here we go. We're going to indict you. And then they would get tried that way. So just a little nugget. How in the world could Letcher County really have a fair trial? Oh, wait, I'm not sure that's a priority. That's right, girl, Ryan. That's right. Jury nullification is when they all say, screw it. We don't think he did anything wrong. That's right. And if he gets a jury full of Mickey supporters, oh, it's more than a 50-50 chance then. And if he's got as much support as he's got, oh yeah, I'd say it's an 80% chance. If he gets tried, if that trial is in fact held here in Letcher County, I would say it's an 80, that's just my guess, but I would say it's an 80% chance that he does get a jury that would nullify it. I get that jury nullification and sentiment play into this case as a possibility. But how do you get that video of Mickey out of your head long enough for anything else? I agree. But even though we've all seen that video, even though everybody has seen that video, you still got 80%. And I mean, that's just my guess. But you've still got a very, very high percentage of Letcher County that's still shouting his praises, saying free Mickey. So, and they've all seen that video. Everybody knows it. They don't care. I live across the line in Wise, and I noticed 103.9 never carries any news on Mickey Stines. Even our newspapers, they've all had such good relationships with all of these people for so many years. You know, I hate to say it, but it's true. Even our own local news networks and stuff, they have become accustomed to, they've got their sources, they've got their off the record, they've got their on the record sources. And over the years, I'm sure, I'm just assuming this, but I believe that they have become accustomed to writing stories how they're given to them, how they're asked to, or not. I went looking on an suicide. I gotta be careful how I say that word, but there was one very connected to the good old boys circle, and I went trying to find any article that I could find. Something. Couldn't find nothing. Nothing but the obituary. That was it. That was it. There wasn't a newspaper or a news station carried the story in Kentucky or Virginia. The only thing I found was the obituary. And and that's just one example. I got several, but that's just one. And that's anywhere. It's not like I'm accusing anybody of anything that doesn't happen, or that it doesn't happen everywhere. I'm sure that happens everywhere. There's always a source of news that is connected to the courthouses and the people in those courthouses. It's just the way that it's the way that the media has worked for a very long time. And now you've got these different forms and different platforms of media, and they really don't like it. They really don't like it. Stines can indeed take a plea deal that's offered to him. Absolutely. My question is, would he? If they offer him one, would he take it, or would he take it to trial? Rolling the dice to see if he's found guilty or not. I would have a very hard time. I'm like Shane X too. I would have a very hard time. I couldn't get that video out of my head. But that's not the most popular opinion around here. What do you think the judge's family would do or say if the sheriff got off this case with being set free? I couldn't imagine. Do you think they'd throw a fit? I think everybody's stuck in the middle. I think like that detective that was up on the stand at the preliminary hearing or whatever that was, when they showed the video and the detective got up there and testified on the stand, he looked scared to death. And he wasn't going to say anything that he didn't have to say. I mean, it looked to me like his chin was even quivering when he was up there. I think people feel very stuck in the middle, and nobody wants to be the bad guy. Nobody wants to be the one. Well, if you've got a whole team of investigators that feel the same way, well, then who's going to be the one? Who's going to be the one to actually look at this stuff? I think a lot of these players in this case are looking out for numero uno and how they can get through this without with the least damage. That's the best way to say it. That's what I think. With him being the sheriff, I don't see any legal way on earth the trial is in Letcher County. Well, right now it's in Letcher County. The only thing that's not in Letcher, they're not housing him in the Letcher County Jail, so they've put him over in the Leslie County Jail, which is not very far from here. It's hiding. Then they had a couple of his hearings in different locations. But once they sent it, his case, once they sent it to the grand jury, it has to be heard. I didn't know this before till this case. I found out. It has to be heard by the grand jury in the county that the crime was committed in. So, I mean, that's law. It had to be heard in Letcher County in front of a Letcher County grand jury. It's still in Letcher County. The case, the crime, all of it. What I have found out through listening to Ned Pillersdorf's interviews is that Kentucky's a Commonwealth state. So that kind of means that they can make their own laws. And so one of the funky perks that a lot of other states don't have, Kentucky gives the prosecutors the option of putting in for a change of venue. So the prosecutor can request a change of venue for this case. I don't think that they've done that yet. We've not heard of that happening. Pillersdorf said in his interview that he thinks that will happen, but it hasn't happened yet that we know of. So as of now, this is a Letcher County trial as of now. And they're moving forward that way. Mickey's lawyers have all said they want it in Letcher County, and we've not heard Jackie Steele say the first word about having it moved out of Letcher County. So, and I'm also not convinced that we've got a prosecutor who is really wanting to prosecute this case. I mean, where's the outrage? Where's the justice, the demand for justice? Like, our prosecutors in this area just don't have a really great reputation, and they're not known for tough sentences. Look at all the ones that we've looked at lately. I mean, if they can give them probation, they're recommending special sentences for their friends in this county. Cops unalive every day, probably part of their job. I admit, usually not a friend or a judge. I think they are hiding something on the video. Why not just show the whole video? Yeah, well, I'm sure they probably will in the trial. They were allowed to choose how much of that video that they wanted to play, and they've only played the little portion that they needed to. That's all they needed to play to get it sent to a grand jury. So they only let out as little as possible. Do you realize how many people that has been locked up that is waiting on this to file appeal? They can't afford not to sweep this under the rug. Oh, girl. All of the cases that Mickey was involved in, and do you know what a nightmare that would be if they did unearth a whole corruption ring, which is what I think it is. But I just don't think that you have any law enforcement agency that's willing to put their I just don't think that we have any. I don't think there's any of them. I don't think the FBI is willing to do it. I don't think, and I think this investigation into ARC, how could they investigate ARC for Medicaid fraud and have all of these whispers going on about the courts and money laundering and cover-ups and payoffs, and them not investigate that, at least look into it? How could they, if the FBI is the agency who investigated and charged Scott Blair, we better just hold our breath, because he should have been charged with the R word. He should have been charged with all kinds. Rugs. He should have been charged with, well, depending on how far he went with it, like, I'm really questioning the SMEX trafficking angle. I don't see how these investigators are looking at all of this stuff. You know, you kind of have to take the whole, look at the whole enchilada, not just this little piece and this little piece and this little piece. You kind of got to look at the whole picture and look at the patterns that seem to be appearing. Where's the charges? Honest services fraud. That's a shame. Like, that in itself is just a shame. And they gave him 4.5 years. 4.5 years. And he had been doing it for 4 years. Or at least that's what they've got the charges for, right? You got to remember digital evidence. So they've went back and they've looked at his phone and his messages. And so that's probably, it goes back to then. Leopards don't change their spots. And 50-year-old men don't just start doing this one day when they're 50 years old. This kind of behavior repeats itself. And I guarantee you, this man right here, this former Commonwealth's attorney, I guarantee you he's done that. He's had this kind of behavior for a very long time. It just doesn't wake up one day and say, hey, I think I'm going to do this. It's possible everywhere. It's not something that can be asked for, or even talked about in court. It's up to the jury. That's the jury nullification. Yeah, it cannot even be discussed in a courtroom. They can't even utter those words. If I were the judge's family, I wouldn't claim him. It's sad. This whole thing is just sad. But everybody around here has been, maybe not everybody, but the majority of people around here have been victims of this good old boy system at one point in time. And if you haven't been a victim of it, a member of your family or your friend, one of your friends, has been a victim of it. I mean, it's just too widespread. Too many, way too many victims. Have a good night, honey. Yeah, I'd say we've been on here for 2 hours. It's midnight. I'm sorry. We were late this evening. So we'll go ahead and close this one out tonight. I'm sorry I didn't get through our um, comments very well. Let's see. I think we had a $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Let's see. Judge was threatening Mickey through his daughter, telling her they were going to unalive her dad if he didn't keep quiet. They made her the messenger. That's possible. But the search warrants on all these phones are going to produce something. Looking forward to seeing the evidence in this case and getting some transparency. Well, and people are so convinced that we're gonna find out. Now it's all gonna come out. Every time something happens, y'all. Every single time something happens, everybody says the same thing. It's all over Facebook. Now it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out now. Jason Ellis and the Bardstown Red Rum. They should have the monsters who committed them crimes, but everyone is more worried about this case. Bring justice to the Bardstown Three. Absolutely, Mr. Benson. I think that is another perfect example of unsolved red rums. Jason Ellis's case is unsolved. He was a police officer. This was the case in Bardstown. What was her name? No. I can't get off of here without saying her name because I feel bad. Bardstown, Kentucky. Her name, Crystal Rogers. I knew that. It's just late. Crystal Rogers. And her daddy, Tommy Ballard, he was red rummed. Jason Ellis. And then there was a mother and a daughter. Very similar to here in Letcher County. There was a mother and daughter who were whose case is unsolved. Very, very similar to what's been going on here. We got those 3 unsolved red rums here too. And it just seems like there's no movement on any of them. Even those cases that we just mentioned. There's no movement. All right, guys, let me get down here to the bottom. Miss Shirley, you know how so many there in Letcher County turn a blind eye. They sure do. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Bless you. Isolation, degradation, shame, financial slavery, chemical dependency, saxophoning without a band leader. Honey, you hit it right on the head with that one. Very, very true. She said, I thought that too. Why didn't the judge get up? And at the beginning, I heard rumors the judge had a pew-pew too and went to reach for it. Well, we saw he was sitting there with his hands up in the air, had a cigarette in his hand. Yep. Judge Mullins didn't look like he. And after he was hit the first time and he got knocked down and was on the ground, you can see Judge Mullins turn around and lift his head over the table and look at him, and the look of confusion and like, are you serious? Are you really, shock. The look of shock and just disbelief was on his face. Oh, yeah. Keto Kim, honey. We ain't seen you in a while. Welcome. I think I would have fought as soon as I saw him pull it out of his holster. I would have got up and start at least tried. I mean, and I've always heard that the judge carried one on his ankle or he had one in his bag at all times. Well, Mickey knew that. The judge did have one. Oh, thank you, Kathy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, if he did have one, Mickey knew he had one. Let's see. I don't know the name of the law, but there's a video going around on YouTube from TikTok Rants. This young girl is talking about a law in her state, Indiana, but Kentucky has it too. If your parents pass and leave bills when they're gone, you as their child have to pick up the bills and pay them off. Kentucky is one of the 13 or so states listed that. That's interesting. That is very, very interesting. Watching, but I'm Leslie County Jail. Everyone works, not like Letcher County. They only have a select few of the jailers choosing. Just an FYI. Everyone, okay, so they're saying everyone works in the Letcher County Jail, Leslie County Jail. Some jails are like that, yeah. They have certain jobs, like some of them work in the kitchen, some of them work in laundry, some of them work somewhere else. And so that's interesting. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that. And if he's working in the laundry and he's working with people every day, he's going to end up talking to people that are like, he's going to find somebody that he's going to have confidence in, or he's going to talk to somebody. They always do. They cannot keep their mouths shut. None of them. Butts off to be able to protest freely. TB was framed and arrested. Protesters were charged with stupid stuff and threatened. They just keep fighting. Well, last night we did this. We were looking at the protest that was done in Whitesburg, and I forgot to show this one. So this is from WYMT. This was the protest. People in Whitesburg protest against child schmecks offenders. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you've got 7 people there. And this was the case that they ended up having. Jamie Hatton, let's see. People in Whitesburg protesting after a man was charged with third-degree sexual assault. The Letcher County attorney later learned the offense was against a younger victim, which would in turn be first-degree sexual assault. And if he really, is that negligence or is it incompetence? Protesters say they do not want these kinds of cases slipping through the cracks, and it looks to me like there's a whole bunch of these kinds of cases that have slipped through the cracks. It follows with them the rest of their life. Every day they have to face that, just like whoever he was that he ested or done whatever he done to him, or what the paper says. That person's going to have to live with that till the day they die, said Stephen Collins, who lives in Whitesburg. With a third-degree sexual assault charge, the penalty is 90 days. And I don't know why they say in prison, because it's jail, not prison. Prison is for felonies. Jail is for misdemeanors. This case will be back in court September 11th. So there's a little picture. And it took this group of people going down there with their signs. It took them doing that for them to do the right thing at the county attorney's office and in the courtroom. And Kevin Mullins was the judge in that case. And in the article that we read last night, Jamie Hatton said there wasn't even a prosecutor in there. So what they did was they set the court date. If you weren't on there last night, they set the court date for August 28th. That was when the victim and the victim's mother and the family and everybody was supposed to go to court for sentencing. Well, instead of on the 28th, they went ahead and let him go to court on the 23rd and let him plead guilty. And Judge Mullins gave him 90 days. Victim's family didn't know that they had changed the court date. They weren't given the opportunity to be there. And then Jamie Hatton comes out and says in the news report that there wasn't even a prosecutor there. So you didn't have no representation of the family or the victims. You didn't have a prosecutor there. Probably sounds like he didn't even have a defense attorney there. So, and you ended up trying to slip that through, is what it looks like to me. The court and anybody that was involved in that tried to slip it through, sneak it through, so nobody would know any better. And it took this protest. It took this little group of people going down there protesting, and then the newspapers putting it out, and stories being told, put it on Facebook, for them to go do the right thing. What were they afraid of? Who were they afraid was going to come and do something about it? Doesn't look like the county or the Kentucky Attorney General's office does very much. All right, guys. It's getting late. Let's see. Absolutely, Kathy. If he takes a plea deal, he'll go to prison, and we will still have all these questions. That's right, Prissy Pants. FBI's a waste of money. They only get involved when they have to, it looks like. Look here. Pingy says, if they offered him 10 years, I think he would accept. Just thinking out loud. I think he would be stupid if he didn't accept it. You don't have to be a cop, fireman, or wear a uniform to be a good man or citizen. That's exactly right. I'm betting they will move it because of the budget amendments in the paler this summer. Yeah, well, someone said before that his lawyers were deal makers. So there you go. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Nah, they can appoint a special prosecutor. They already have, Miss Christie. It's Jackie Steele. He is the special prosecutor for this case. Yeah, they've put governors in prison before. And our governor turned around and gave the preacher man, the one who was the rehab plant down at the courthouse, the one that was best friends with Sheriff Stines and best friends, he says, with Kevin Mullins. Our governor gave him a pardon of rug charges. So now he's got a full pardon by our Kentucky governor. I wonder, I was just thinking the presidential pardon is the federal. So if the governor pardons, that means that's state, doesn't it? Let me see. Our governor's pardons for state crimes. A person who wishes to seek a pardon or a commutation of a sentence for a state offense should contact the authorities of the state in which the conviction occurred. Such state authorities are typically the governor or a state board of pardons and or paroles if the state government has created such a board. Well, we've already looked at it was on the front page of the paper. The governor gave Michael Clark a full pardon. So he had, for what? Why did he get a pardon? Because he works at a rehab? I mean, what else? Somebody please tell me what this preacher man did to deserve a full pardon from our governor. I'll wait. Because he's been accused of doing some pretty dirty stuff himself since all this has come out. I'd say there's a lot of that thin blue line that is PO'd. That's right. I think he goes with extreme emotional disturbance, and it's knocked down from red rum to manslaughter. He's sentenced to 10 and served 6.5. That's a good theory. We'll find out. I am in Florida. Alligator suit may have a different meaning. It's the suicide vest that they wear. That's what they call the alligator suit up here. If they go in saying they're going to self-inflict something, then they get put in the alligator suit. And I guarantee you they ain't put Mickey in one. All right, y'all. Yeah, everybody's tired, going to bed. Me too. Any more preachers are more untrustworthy than they used to be. Yeah. Thank you, Bunny. All right, you all have a good night, and I will see you tomorrow. All right. Stay blessed. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you then. Peace out. Peace out, Girl Scouts.